Hello and welcome to Between Worlds. I'm Jennifer Kavanaugh. I wanted to share quickly with you a dream I had a few days ago. Actually, I've been sitting on this dream. I was told at first not to share it right away, so I've honored that. But a few days ago, near the end of January, I had a dream where I was being held captive with some other teenagers. So I was in a teenage body form, and we were in some kind of facility underground, a very clinical like setting. So it was like concrete walls, um, very cold feeling, not a pleasant feeling being in that space. And there was a series of different rooms. So it was kind of, to me, a little bit like being in a science lab, or like a pharmaceutical lab of some sort. And we were kind of down in the lower level of this building. There was another teenage boy about the same age as me, that we must have been friends, and we were working through this process of trying to get higher and higher up, because we knew we were very low in the building, and so we must have been able to have time to move or find a way to move through the rooms. And we were eventually working our way up to the highest level of the building, which was still underground, but it was just underground. And we made our way into this kind of like a control room, like a security room is how I would describe it, because there was cameras and we could see the rooms above us, and we could see the space below us. And I also remember there being a couple of buttons on this control panel, and we had looked at each other, and without saying anything, we knew this was our one chance. This would be our only chance. If we didn't um, go ahead with this plan of ours, that we would probably be killed at that point. So he looked at me and he passed me this piece of paper, at least what I thought was a piece of paper, and we crumpled it up and we both ate it. And after we ate the piece of paper, we hit this button and it unlocked the door. And we went up this little elevator, or out through this doorway, and we ended up in a department store. So like a Canadian department store that you would know. It reminded me of some department stores I had been in, probably in my teen years or my early 20s. Um, it was definitely a store that I've been in many, many times. So we got into the department store, and we knew at this point that people would be looking for us from this underground facility. So we were very scared. Like, the adrenaline that was pumping through my body at that moment was very, very high. And we were trying to hide, behind the clothes. We were trying to move because we wanted to get out of the store, but at the same time, we were hiding as we moved through the store. I remember seeing some cashiers and the odd person here or there, but they didn't really see us. But there was some safety in them being in the room. And so we were sneaking our way through the store. And at this point, we realized that nobody was following us. And we also realized that there was some safety in us being in this public space, because for whatever reason, these people couldn't come after us when we were in a public space. So we figured out pretty quickly that as long as we remained in the open, as long as we remained in a public space, that we should be okay. But at the same time, we also knew we had to get out of there. And I don't remember what happened after that, so I have a blackout region here again. And then I jumped to another dream. And in this dream, I was an adult, so current age. And my husband and I had adopted a group of children. And these were children who had been abused through some very dark ritual abuse. And I believe there was 5 children in total. There was a couple of teenagers. And in particular, there was a little girl about the age of 4, I would say, 3 or 4, around that age group. Um, and her and I we were connected at the hip. Like, she was not leaving my side and I was not leaving her side. But I was also very aware of the older children as well, in terms of wanting to protect them. And we ended up getting an invitation to a dinner. Uh, at a large mansion nearby, and I knew that the owner of that home had been involved in the abuse of these children. Now, this is a dream. Keep in mind, this is a dream. So, in the dream, my husband had felt pressured to go, so he had decided that we were all going to go to this dinner. And there was some other people at the dinner too, like other neighbors. It's supposed to be like a neighborly dinner, and the person we were going to had a high reputation, but I knew otherwise. And so I was trying to prevent that because I didn't want the children to have to go back into this home. So anyway, we arrived, and I'm super high alert with the children, and watching their reactions and making sure that they remain safe. And we enter kind of the main level of the home, and there's a dining area set up, and we're chatting, and there's neighbors there, and I'm not really talking a whole lot because I'm just like eyes wide open, checking out what's going on with the kids. And it's, for the most part, it was okay. The owner of the home was kind of this older gentleman, thinner build, and definitely had a wizard-like feel. It wasn't the wizard I've talked about in our Spiritual Rebels program, but the same type of energy, of that wizard type energy. And so anyway, everything was fine there. And then we're told we're going down to the basement to continue the party. And I was like, oh no, we're not going down to the basement. That's not a good thing. But anyway, I couldn't prevent the group from moving down there. And so we went down. And at this point, I didn't see the wizard. I saw there was a beautiful woman who was hosting the group down there. But I quickly became aware that she was a hologram, and she was actually being held by the wizard. So I quickly realized that that was just a trick. What was interesting is that the older children ran to the closet, and at this point, this room looked more like a 1970s type style, like it hadn't been updated since the 70s. So it was those old like wooden closets, and they reached for some pet food and started eating pet food. And were telling me how it was such a treat when they got to eat pet food when they had lived there, and really heartbreaking, obviously. And at this point, seeing the hologram and seeing the kids eating this pet food, I pulled them out. I left. I was like, no, we're leaving. We're leaving. I'm not leaving you here. This is not right. But for some reason, we couldn't leave the house. It was like all the doors were locked. So we went upstairs to a large bedroom, and there was, it was a mansion in the woods. So there was huge windows, and you could see the forest and the trees, and there was like a lake, a little river stream that ran to the lake out the window. So we were looking at that, and in the process, we heard a helicopter. And I was like, oh, do you guys hear the helicopter? And we ran to the window to look at the helicopter, and it was this silvery gray helicopter. We've seen them in the sky before here in real life too. And the helicopter was flying really, really low. It was flying, below the tree level. So, not where a normal helicopter would fly unless it was landing or taking off. And I became aware, at first I thought the helicopter was a good energy, but then I realized that it was looking for us. So I quickly pulled the kids down to the ground, and we were trying to hide in the corner. And the helicopter actually flew right up to the window to look in. And again, I have a blackout here. I can't remember what happened at that moment. But the next thing I know, the windows were blown out, and the teenage kids had these superpowers, and they flew out of the window. And I grabbed the little girl, and we climbed out the window. And the teenagers had looked at me and smiled, and I knew they were okay, and they had a mission. They were flying out. I don't know where they were going. I knew in the dream, but I can't explain it in human terms, I guess, at this point. But I knew they were going to fulfill a mission, and that they were safe, and it was good what they were doing. And the little girl and I were just waiting for everyone to come out. I think I recall hearing some fire sirens in the background. So it was almost like an explosion or something had happened. And shortly thereafter, I awoke. This dream has been sitting with me quite a bit. I'm not going to go too much into interpretation. I'm just being asked to share it. Perhaps there's some energy in there that relates for others, or maybe there's a message in there for someone that needs to hear it. All I can say is that there was an interesting energy around first being someone who was captured, and then second being someone who was helping others who had been captured. And one of the things I've always been interested in is past lives. And as a child, I always believed in past lives. You know, whether they're real or not, I don't have any proof, you could say, to prove that we do have past lives. But I do wonder this: if we have lived multiple lives, then I believe it's possible that we have lived different types of lives in maybe different bodies and different skin colors and different experiences. And I know I have received the message a few times that, you know, all of us have been children. And if we've all been children, then we all need to be healed from that as well, in whatever happened in our childhoods. So that's all I'm going to say on that, but just that there's this potential that, you know, we have all experienced in some ways, if we have had these past lives, some of the challenges and pains and suffering that others have, or that we witness in this life. And that may be why we're drawn to them. That may be why we have empathy for them. So we'll bear that in mind. And hopefully this video is not too much of a downer, but you know, sometimes we need to look at all the energies and process all the emotions that are coming through that. So love to everyone, and we'll see you soon.